Hello students, so today we're going to go over the table of neoplasms, how to search for these codes using the Encoder Pro. This can get a little tricky, so we're going to start right off just by explaining a little bit of the Encoder Pro. So the areas that we're going to be using, it's going to be different. We're not going to use this search engine as much. What we're going to be doing is under the coding section. If you'll come down to the ICD-10 CM index, we're going to start off with the index to diseases and injuries. So you could just go up here and enter, copy and paste the information. However, the results are going to may be different, and so you may not get the right code. So for the neoplasms, I highly recommend that you go through the coding section and then index, and then always start off with the index to diseases and injuries. So I'm going to click on that, and this is what you should get. Okay, so this right here tells you index to diseases and injuries. So what we're going to be looking for, or what our main term is going to be, is what's wrong with the patient. So here on this example number 1, so this patient, what's wrong with it is it has melanoma. Primary and malignant all describe what type of melanoma this patient has, and then the rest of this is as pinpointing where in the body the melanoma is. So my key term here is going to be melanoma, and I'm just going to copy that. Again, you can type it on the index search engine here. I'm just going to paste it. So I'm going to do search. Okay. And so right here, melanoma, it is malignant. And then our second code, or our second clue here, and I'm just going to minimize that to see if we can maybe get that a little, so we can see here what we're looking for. So melanoma, we know that it's primary and we know that it's malignant. So here is our malignant. Of the skin of the scalp. So we know that its skin is our next key term, because the scalp is just saying where in the body, but it's the skin that's being affected. So our next key term here will be skin. So under melanoma, we need to come down and look for skin, and we see it right here. However, you see this little triangle here. If I click on that, it even narrow, or so this is where you're going to locate what part of the body is this skin being affected. So we know that it's in the scalp. So we need to continue to go down until we find scalp. So I'm going to keep going, and here it is. Here's the scalp. So I'm going to click on that code C43.4. And it's right here, C43.4, malignant melanoma of scalp and neck. Okay, so this right here, I'm going to click on it, and it takes us to our code information. So this is the correct code for number 1. So that was C43.4. That would be our answer. Okay, our next one is lymphoma of the face. So we know that it's a lymphoma, so I'm going to do copy. Okay, and I'm going to just X out of that and go back to my index here, my ICD-10-CM index and diseases. So instead of melanoma, I'm going to put lipoma. So search lipoma. So lipoma of the face. Okay, so lipoma. So site classified. Yes, it is classified. We do know where the lipoma is at. So let's open up and see if we can find face. Okay, so here it is, of the face, and here is our diagnosis. So let's click on that, D17.0, and that is our code here. So D17.0 is our code. I'm going to click on that just to see if we have any other requirements, but this looks like that's our code. So for number 2, it's D17.0. Make sure, yeah. Okay, so the next one is primary glioma of the parietal lobe of the brain. So this is the glioma, is our disease, or what's going on with this patient. So I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back to our index here on the disease and injuries. Paste it there. Do a search. Okay, this is telling us that it's malignant, yes. Okay, but we don't see on this one the brain, okay? It's a part of the brain, it's a section, or the area of the lobe is the area of the brain, but we're actually looking for the brain. And out of these options, the closest is the specified site. Yes, it is specified. But notice here it says neoplasm. Okay, because it's saying specified site, C, neoplasm, malignant, or by site. So we know it's a neoplasm. So I'm going to click on that. And see, this is where it indicates that you need to go look for this code. See also table of neoplasm. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. So now we have to go back to this little drop down, go back to our ICD-10 index, and then here's our neoplasm table. Now this is where it's going to look familiar from the examples from the textbook that you've been reading. Okay, so now we know what the disease is. So here in our search engine, we need to find out what where in the body this neoplasm. So we know it's the brain. So I'm going to do search. Okay. And then this is where the parietal lobe will come to play. So we need to come back and see, here it is, parietal lobe. We click on it and we know it's primary. So this is where we would come on the parietal lobe. We know it's primary, so and it is malignant. So this would be our code, C71.3. Okay, so let's take a look at that. C71.3, malignant neoplasm of the parietal lobe. So yes, that is our code for number 3, C71.3. Okay, patient. So it's the astrocytoma. So I'm going to copy that. And we need to go back to our table of disease. But notice that this is kind of not letting us go into that section. So I'm just going to click home. And then from my home page, then if I click on this, hover over the coding section, I go back to my index. Okay. And we're going to go index to disease and injuries. We always want to start there. So I'm going to place my condition there and do search. So I don't see the part of the body, but it's specified. So I know that this is where I need to go. So I'm going to again go to neoplasm, and that's just going to tell me to go to the table of neoplasm. So that's telling me, okay, I need to come back up here and do the index and go back to the neoplasm table. There's where I'm going to put what part of the body, because we know what's going on with it. So I want to click on the, copy that, doesn't go there, and then do search. Okay. So we know it's primary. Okay. It's C48.1. Okay, and so I wanted to try one that's a little tricky from our Cengage exercises, which is exercise 6.4, and it's number 6. So it's oat cell carcinoma of the right lung with spread to the brain. So these boxes are telling me that I have two codes to look up. Okay, the first one we're going to look up is carcinoma. Okay, we're going to go back to our home page, coding, index, and then index to disease and injuries. So I'm going to put the carcinoma there. And then see, right here it's also telling me C neoplasm. So if, let's do a search. And it is telling me to go to most of these, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to the neoplasm. And again, it's telling us we need to do the table. So again, now here is where we need to tell it where it's affecting, where it's affecting. So the first one is the lung. Okay, so we're going to copy the lung. Okay, and so it doesn't tell us specifically where in the lung or what area of the lung. It just says the right lung. So I'm going to click, and we know that it's the primary. So I'm going to click C34.9. Now look right here, it's giving you a little dash. Okay, so let's click on that. Okay, so here's the C34.5, but look, we have a red flag there saying that it needs a fifth character. And so if we come down to the indented codes, we know that this one says unspecified parts, but we do have some sort of specification. We know that it's the right lung, so we need to find out which of these options say right. And it's this one right here, malignant neoplasm of unspecified part of the right bronchus or lung. So this is our first code, C34.91. So I'm going to come back to my MindTap and put C34.91. Okay, so that's our first code, but we also need to tell it that it's spread to the brain. So from here, I'm going to copy brain, and then I'm going to go back to my neoplasm table because we know that the condition is a neoplasm and it is malignant. So I'm just going to paste brain there. So I'm going to do search. And it's a secondary because the primary was the first code we did. So let's click on malignant secondary malignant neoplasm of the brain. So C79.31 is our second code. So I'm going to come back to MindTap, C79.31, check my work, and that is correct. Okay, so that is how you would use or search for the neoplasm table.